This is James from GosT, and you're watching Heavy New York.
What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York again. We are back at the Knitting Factory, and we return with James of GosT. Thank you for coming back, man.
Sure, man. It's good to be back. It's always good to be in New York.
Yeah, absolutely. The last time I spoke to you, Valediction, I think you had like the title announced, but like the record wasn't out yet, so we couldn't really go into too much detail about it. But now that it's been out and everything, how has the record cycle for it been thus far?
I'm not really sure how the record cycle's been, but the response that I've seen, like, personally, like people approaching me or whatever, has been really, really good. And people seem to be reacting to it on a more personal level than my past releases. Probably because of the vocals. I don't know.
Interesting. Being that people have like been taking their own personal account with it, is it like maybe a completely different interpretation than what like you were saying on the album?
I don't know. I haven't really had any conversations about how people are interpreting it themselves, but yeah, I think it's just, it's pulled in a lot more. I don't know. With the older releases, nobody really ever talked to me about them. They wouldn't email me personally or anything. So it's just people have been telling me that, it helps them get through their day and all that kind of stuff. So that's been really cool.
Yeah. Well, I've noticed that like a lot of almost like every song on this record played by its own rules. Like I thought Timeless Turmoil was very different from the Wax track or anything like that. So it's fair to say that like every song called for a new approach, or was there like maybe a formula that you utilize in the songwriting for this?
No, I just I kind of just sat down every time with no premise of what I was going to do. And if, something, just whatever popped in my brain, I just threw it in there. That's why it's just a mixed bag of so many different genres.
Okay. So it's not like you go into songwriting with like a preconceived idea. There's like a lot of improv and all that stuff.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, on the earlier dancier stuff, I definitely had a more definite plan when I sat down, but a little on Possessor and a lot on the new record. I just kind of winged it every time.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I thought that this record was very different from Possessor. So, like, it almost seems like that each record in the catalog is representative of who you are at that particular time.
Definitely, yeah. I changed personally quite a bit. The way I dress, the music I listen to. So that is just starting to leak into my project more and more and more, and it probably will. I do really enjoy what I did with Valediction, though, so I don't think the next record will be like a complete turn. It'll just be maybe exploring those avenues even a little further, just, adding more weird elements together. I don't know, maybe I'll put some jazz in it. I don't know.
There you go. Some maybe collaborate with Britney Spears.
I totally would, dude. Toxic's a sick-ass track.
There you go. I think I put that in the top 10 most guilty pleasure metalhead tracks.
Dude, everybody likes that fucking song. Yeah.
And they're lying through their teeth if they say they don't.
It's true, yeah.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to like getting inspired to write music, do you like have to put yourself in a certain element in order for inspiration to come through, or do ideas just come out of nowhere?
Sometimes they come out of nowhere. Sometimes a track will basically write itself, and in like the course of sometimes 2 or 3 hours, I can be done with something. But other times it's it could take me a week to finish a song. It's really different every time. I guess it depends on if I'm tired. If I have it works way better. Inspiration flows much more freely when I have time off from touring. Touring like crushes my inspiration and just makes me want to sleep and cry.
Really? Yeah, I've heard quite the opposite from a lot of bands I've asked this question to. They say like they get a lot of new ideas when they're on tour and like seeing different parts of the world and stuff.
Yeah, maybe if you're in more of a band setup, I could see that happening. But for me, it's just I don't know. It's I love touring, but it's a lot every day, and there's just a lot of shit that you have to take care of every day. So I don't really ever have time to sit down with the computer. So once I do get a free minute, that's not what I want to do.
Yeah, of course. Now, I believe I touched upon it last time on your tour with Three Teeth, but like, seeing you live is a completely different experience from your way of utilizing production and stuff. One question I have about the live presence is like, because I know you in a way kind of like portray like maybe a character on stage. Is this like a character that is a direct extension of who James is personally, or do you portray somebody completely out of your element on stage?
It's maybe like who I want to be, like at a party or something. You know what I mean? Like I feel much more confident on stage for some weird reason, and I'm a little bit more insecure in person. So it's definitely like a reflection of me, but it's something else. It's another personality.
Yeah, people were quite shocked that I interviewed you unmasked last time too.
Yeah, I mean, I did an interview earlier that day with Frank, and no, I guess it was earlier. It was before the show, and I had all the makeup on, and I don't know. I decided in that moment it was like, whatever.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there's pictures of me on the internet anyway. So if you
go.
really want to see
If you dare.
how lame I look, yeah.
Are you just as much in character when you are songwriting as you are when you're on stage, or like is that a completely? Are you maybe like is this a different side of you when we hear the album versus seeing you?
Depends. When I'm doing vocals, I'm kind of in a character because it gets pretty dramatic, so you kind of have to play a part. But if I'm just writing the beats and things like that, it's just full concentration, just me and like, some slippers or some shit in my living room. So.
And kind of like a similar question is when it comes to playing live, is that a completely separate art than, simply songwriting, or maybe is there like a similar method behind the madness?
I think it's separate. It's totally, controlling your vocals and things like that live. I didn't really start taking too seriously until right before the Mayhem tour. I saw a few videos online, and I was like, oh, I sounded like dog shit that night. So I spent a lot of time before Mayhem and this tour just really working on my control and things like that, and like screaming techniques, because I threw my voice out on that tour like 3 weeks in, so the screams all kind of sounded like it was just not working. But yeah, it's totally a different element. Just I don't know, it's more fun. You get to like play your music with other people in the room, so
Yeah.
it's different for me.
I've always I feel like from what you're telling me is like GosT is almost like a perfect bridge between like it's almost like organized chaos. You have your way of completely liberating yourself from any form of concentration, but then you also have like a focused idea on how to create your art.
Definitely, yeah. I'd say that's pretty close to correct. I couldn't put it better.
Thank you. Now, I have two more questions for you, but we talked upon it a little bit last time, but you've toured with like a variety of different bands, like, the Mayhem tour that you were doing. But, before when I saw you, I thought you, Three Teeth, and Arthur and Punisher, that was like a kind of a match made in heaven. But you've played with Black Dahlia Murder and Power Trip and a lot of these other bands. Have you noticed maybe like a different reaction, or is it a different experience too, depending on the type of tour that you're on?
For sure. Support tours that's all we did last year, was all support tours. And it's a different thing. It's challenging. You have, it's mainly the headliners' fans every night, no matter who's on tour with you. And so every night's kind of you have to prove yourself a little bit and work a little harder. I think headlining tours are much more rewarding as far as crowd reaction and everything goes, because people are here to specifically see GosT, and it's, a lot of the diehards, and it's just much more fulfilling. Yeah.
Could maybe seeing you on a headline tour, is that also going to be a completely different GosT experience than like in terms of like production? Like, are we going to be even seeing more sides of GosT than if it was a support tour?
For sure, yeah. I get a little freakier on stage and shit when it's my tour and I have more time, and of course the production's a little bit better because we have time to set it up and we have space.
Yeah, and you can destroy the stage and not have to worry about anybody playing after you.
Yeah, or stepping on Hellhammer's drum set or some shit like that. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. And the final question I wanted to ask you is, I'm actually writing, contributing to an article right now about like where we think like industrial music started and what is industrial, because like, Throbbing Gristle is considered industrial, 9 Inch Nails, but then Static X is considered industrial, Rammstein. What to you? I've always noticed that industrial has a sound, it has an imagery, it has a lifestyle. To you, what makes an industrial artist?
I don't know. It's a broad term nowadays, everything from like new wave sounding stuff to pretty much metal. It gets looped into industrial. So I think there's definitely a vibe. You can't wear anything other than black, obviously. But I don't know. It depends on, I guess if you're a fan of industrial music and you're making music, then it'll seep in, and I don't know how to say what makes industrial music, because they're literal. You got 3 Teeth on one side of the spectrum. You've got like, I would even put like Boy Harsher a bit in the industrial thing, and it's way softer. So I don't really know what it takes.
Yeah, I asked Stabbing Westward that question last year at Incarceration Festival, and he was even like perplexed by that question.
Yeah. Because I wouldn't even consider what we do industrial, but I see how it gets looped in and it makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. So before we go, I want to thank you so much again for your time today. Is there just anything else with GosT you would like to promote for the Valediction record cycle?
Yeah, if you're in Europe, we'll be there in like 2 weeks. Check out the socials and come out to a show, because we have a lot of fun. It should be a fun tour. We got Zwart Crown is opening that tour. It's a French black metal band that just signed a Century, I think, as well. So it should be cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, James. Great to see you again. You too. Everybody, James of GosT, be sure to pick up Valediction if you haven't already. This is Alex from Heavy New York. We'll see you next time.